Today we're going to break down an experience that's incredibly common but can feel so isolating when you're in it. It all starts with a post that someone bravely shared, and I'm just going to read it to you now. Hello, I'm not sure how to phrase my question exactly, but I think I'm experiencing something that might be anxiety or panic or I don't know. I work with a psychologist, but somehow I don't want him to have that feeling. I unlocked it during a work meeting. I felt really bad. My heart started beating really fast. I wanted to get out of where I was to be really warm. After this situation, I tried working with other people, but not even very basic work meetings stress me out and make me nervous. For this reason, even though I really liked my job, I left it. The problem is that sometimes outside of work I feel tense during conversations with people, even if they are acquaintances, sometimes even from my close circle. It's not constant, but it happens to me. I went to a good psychiatrist. He advised me to change jobs because it was emotionally charged, but even after I escaped from what was supposedly worrying me, the tension in me has not completely disappeared. Since I have not worked, I have been short of breath and a lot of other thoughts and fears. What and how to work, how to remove this tension during a conversation. It was not there before, and I want everything to be normal again.
Okay, so let's unpack this. First off, it takes a huge amount of courage to write all that down and share it. So if any of that story feels familiar to you, I want you to know that the fear, the confusion, and that really deep wish for things to just go back to normal, all of that is completely and totally valid.
So let's give this thing a name. Based on everything in that description, that sudden, intense rush of fear, the heart pounding, that desperate need to just get out, what we're talking about here is a classic panic attack. And what came after is just as important, that lingering anxiety, that constant fear of it happening again. Sometimes just putting a name to it is the very first step toward taking back control.
And here is the single most important thing I want you to hear right now. Really let this sink in. A panic attack is not dangerous. It feels absolutely terrifying, I know. It can feel like you're losing control or having some kind of medical emergency. But the physical feelings themselves, as awful and unpleasant as they are, will not actually harm you.
Okay, so we've talked about the feeling. Now let's switch gears and talk about the facts. To really get what's going on, we need to take a look at your body's own internal alarm system. It's actually a brilliant system. It's just gotten a little oversensitive lately.
So, what is a panic attack really? Well, in clinical terms, it's a sudden wave of overwhelming fear that sets off these very real, very severe physical reactions. But here's the key part. It happens when there's no real danger. Your body is basically responding to a false alarm.
And this breaks down that process perfectly. Just think back to that work meeting. Your brain, for whatever reason, flagged that situation as a threat. That flicked the switch on your fight or flight response. Your body immediately started getting ready to either fight off the danger or run away from it, flooding your system with adrenaline. And that's what you felt. The racing heart to pump more blood, the feeling of warmth, and that powerful, overwhelming urge to just escape.
But okay, why didn't it stop after the meeting was over? Or even after you left the job entirely? Well, this is where something called the anxiety snowball effect kicks in. The problem stops being about the original trigger, and it turns into something else.
This right here, this is the absolute heart of it. After you experience one panic attack, your brain, trying to be helpful, develops a brand new fear, the fear of having another one. And that's the cruel twist, isn't it? The fear of the feeling itself becomes the new trigger.
See, your brain is an expert at making connections. It took that intense memory of panic from the meeting and started to link it to anything that felt similar. First, it was other work meetings, but then it became just conversations with people. And that's how the anxiety started to spread, to generalize, into situations that used to feel totally safe, even with your friends.
And this explains exactly why just leaving the job didn't solve everything. Because the engine driving the anxiety had moved from the outside to the inside. Now it's being powered by a nervous system that's on high alert, by avoiding situations which only teaches your brain they're dangerous, and by constantly checking in with yourself. Am I feeling weird? Is it coming back? But most of all, it's fueled by that one little powerful thought. What if it happens again?
So if the problem has become internal, then the solution has to be internal too. It makes sense, right? Let's walk through 4 really practical steps you can start taking to help recalibrate your body's alarm system and, find your way back to a sense of calm.
So here's our game plan. It's a 4-part strategy. First, we stop fighting the feeling. Second, we work on reducing avoidance. Third, we start to challenge those anxious thoughts. And fourth, we use physical tools to actually regulate our nervous system. Let's break down each one. All right, step 1 might sound a little weird, but trust me, it's maybe the most powerful. Stop fighting it. Every time you think, I can't feel this, make it stop. You're basically throwing gasoline on the fire. Instead, try to just acknowledge it. Okay? This is anxiety. It feels terrible, but I know it's just a wave. Because here's the thing about panic. It always has a peak, and then it goes away. It can't last forever. Your body just isn't built to stay in that high alarm state.
Okay, step 2. Let's talk about avoidance. It's tricky because in the short term, it works, it makes you feel better, but in the long run, it actually makes the anxiety much, much worse. Every single time you skip a social event or avoid a conversation, you're sending a loud and clear message back to your brain, see, that was dangerous, good thing we got out of there. The way forward is to take small, manageable steps back into those situations to reteach your brain that they're actually okay.
The real problem here isn't the conversation with a friend. The real problem is the thought that pops up. What if I have a panic attack right now? So learning to notice those what-if thoughts and gently question them, has that ever really happened? And if it did, what would I do? That's how you cut off the anxiety's fuel supply.
And finally, you need some tools you can use right in the moment. When your body is going into alarm mode, you can physically turn down the volume. A really simple trick is to make your exhale longer than your inhale, like breathing in for a count of 4 and out for a count of 6. That actually activates the calming part of your nervous system. Simple things too, like splashing cold water on your face or wrists, can jolt you back to the present and break that panic cycle.
All right, let's bring this all together. And I want to be crystal clear about this next part. What you're experiencing is a temporary state. This is not your life sentence.
Your body isn't broken. You are not broken. Think of your nervous system kind of like a smoke detector. A normal one goes off when there's a fire. Yours has just gotten so sensitive that it's going off because someone is making toast in the other room. Our goal isn't to rip out the smoke detector. It's just to dial back its sensitivity.
Now this right here shows the huge mental shift that healing is all about. That thought, I just want everything to be normal again, is so understandable, but it puts you in a constant fight with yourself. The healing mindset is different. It's more about acceptance and building resilience. It's about learning that you can live a calm, happy life even if a little bit of anxiety shows up from time to time. It doesn't have to be the enemy anymore. And you might be wondering if people actually get through this. Well, how many people have gone through this exact same thing and returned to a completely normal, vibrant life? Thousands, tens of thousands, probably more. You are so far from being alone in this, and the path to feeling better is very well traveled.
So, I'll leave you with one last question to just think about. A panic attack very rarely comes out of a clear blue sky. It's often like the final drop that makes a bucket that's been filling for a long, long time finally overflow. So maybe reflect on this. Before that very first meeting, was there a long period of time where you were just pushing through, gritting your teeth, and under a whole lot of pressure? Sometimes understanding how the story started is the real key to writing a new ending.